Have you ever thought about what happens to your money, house, or other things after you pass away? Most people want to leave everything to their children or loved ones. But here's a question. Will it be that simple? What if your kids argue over who gets what? What if you have just one child, but they're too young to handle it all? Imagine a single parent with an 8-year-old. If something happens, how can that child manage a house, money, or business alone? This is where trust comes in. A trust is like a safe box. You can put your valuable things in it, choose someone you trust to manage it, and leave clear instructions for how and when your child should receive everything. It's one of the smartest wealth protection strategies for families today. In this video, we'll explain how trusts work and why they might be a smart idea for your future. We'll compare trusts versus wills, explore estate planning for high net worth individuals, and talk about how to avoid estate taxes legally. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for simple, helpful guides like this. What is a trust? A trust is like a special box where you place all the things you own, your money, your home, your business, or your investments. But instead of keeping control of yourself, you give that box to someone you trust, such as a person or a trust company, to manage it for you. You also write down clear instructions about what should happen to everything inside. Who should receive what? When should they get it? What should the money be used for? The person or company you choose, called the trustee, must follow your instructions exactly, even after you're no longer around. This setup helps make sure your children or loved ones don't misuse the money or fight over it. And the best part, the trust is protected by law. If the trustee follows your instructions, no one can argue or change the plan. Many people use trusts to protect their children, prevent family drama, or even reduce taxes. But trusts aren't just for wealthy people. They're for anyone who wants to make sure their wishes are followed. Let's break down how they work and if setting one up is right for you. How does a trust actually work? To understand how a trust works, it helps to know the 3 key people involved. First, there's the grantor. This is the person who creates the trust. They decide what to put inside the trust, like money, a house, or a business. They also write the rules and pick the people who will manage and receive the trust. Second, there's the trustee. This is the person or company in charge of managing what's inside the trust. The trustee's job is to follow the grantor's instructions and make sure everything runs smoothly. Third, we have the beneficiary. This is the person or people who will receive the money or assets from the trust. They only get access to the trust according to the rules written by the grantor. So in simple words, one person creates the trust, another manages it, and someone else benefits from it. Now let's look at an example to make it even clearer. Example: Alice's story. Alice is a single mom who lost her husband Alex. Now it's just her and her young son. She owns a house, runs a small business, and has some savings. Alice worked hard to build a good life, but she often wonders what will happen to everything if something happens to her. Her son is still too young to handle money, a house, or a business on his own. To keep everything safe and make sure her son is taken care of, Alice decides to set up a trust. She puts her house, her business, and her savings into the trust. That makes her the grantor. She chooses a professional trust company to manage it, which becomes the trustee. Then she names her son as the beneficiary, the one who will benefit from the trust. Alice writes clear rules. The trust will cover her son's school fees and living expenses. When he turns 20, everything will be given to him. Until then, the trust company manages it all, exactly how Alice planned. While she's still alive, Alice can live in her house and run her business like usual. But legally, the trust owns everything now. This setup keeps her son safe. He can't spend the money too early or fall into traps. And if the trustee ever breaks the rules, her son can take legal action. Types of trusts: by control and by time trusts, come in different types, depending on how much control you want and when the trust begins. Let's talk about the 4 main ones. 1. By control. A revocable trust is a type of trust you can change at any time while you're still alive. You can add new things to it, take things out, change the rules, or even cancel the whole thing if you want to. It gives you a lot of control. If your life or plans change, the trust can change with you. An irrevocable trust is different. Once you set it up and put your things into it, you usually can't take them back or make big changes. The assets now legally belong to the trust, not to you. That might sound strict, but there's a big benefit. Because the trust owns the assets, they're better protected from taxes, debts, or people who might try to take your stuff. It gives you less control but more safety in the long run. Choosing between the two depends on what matters more to you: flexibility or protection. 2. By time. A living trust is a trust you create while you're still alive. You put your money, house, or other valuable things into it, but you can still use them just like before. You stay in control during your lifetime. Then, when you pass away, everything in the trust goes to the people you chose without going through court. It's fast, private, and avoids a lot of hassle. A testamentary trust is different. You don't set it up right away. Instead, it's written into your will, and only starts working after you die. It's useful if you want to control how your assets are given out later. But since it's part of your will, it has to go through probate court. That can take time and cost money. So if you want to make things easier for your loved ones, a living trust is often the smoother path. But both types have their place, depending on your needs. If this is helping, hit that like button so more people can learn how to protect their money. More types of trusts, briefly mentioned. There are many other kinds of trusts. Special needs trusts for disabled people. Charitable trusts to give to causes, pet trusts to care for pets. Even gun trusts to handle weapon inheritance. But for now, we'll focus on the basics. Why use a trust? Real benefits explained. Maybe you're asking, why bother with trust? My kids are grown. I'll just leave them my stuff. That's fair, but trusts offer real benefits. 1. Avoid probate. Normally, when someone dies, their will goes through probate. A legal process that can be slow, expensive, and public. A trust skips all that. Your assets go directly to your beneficiaries, quickly and privately. It's also a smart move in estate planning for high net worth individuals. 2. More control over your money with trust. You decide exactly how your money should be used. For example, Alice set rules for her son's education and living expenses, with the rest released at age 20. This stops young heirs from wasting their inheritance. That's strategic wealth transfer in action. 3. Protection from creditors. If your child ends up in debt or gets sued, assets held in the trust are often safe. Let's say Alice's son becomes addicted to gambling. His creditors can't touch the house if it's still in the trust. This is legal asset protection at its core. 4. Save on taxes. Putting your wealth in an irrevocable trust can reduce or even avoid certain taxes. The assets are not legally yours anymore, so the government can't tax them as part of your estate. This makes it a strong tax shelter strategy for anyone looking to lower estate taxes legally. 5. Special needs support. Some people with disabilities get help from programs like Medicaid or SSI, but only if they don't have too much money. If they get a big inheritance, they might lose those benefits. A special needs trust avoids this by keeping the money separate and managed by a trustee. 6. Divorce protection. Assets in a trust can also be protected during a divorce, if set up before the marriage. If Tom puts his house into a trust before marrying Jane, and they later divorce, the house likely stays in the trust and doesn't get split. Are there any downsides to using a trust? Yes, there are a few things you should know before setting one up. 1. Trusts cost money. Setting up a trust isn't free. You'll usually pay fees to the trust company. These are often 1% to 2% of the total assets in the trust. If you put $500,000 in, that could be $5,000 to $10,000 a year in fees. You may lose some control. If you choose an irrevocable trust, you're making a permanent decision. Once you put your house savings or other things into the trust, you can't take them back or make changes easily. They no longer belong to you, they belong to the trust. The trustee has to follow the rules you set at the beginning, no matter what happens later. Even if your life changes, or you change your mind, those rules stay the same. That's why it's important to be really sure before setting up an irrevocable trust. 3. Trusts can be complicated. Some basic trusts are easy to set up online. You just fill out some forms, follow the steps, and you're done. But if your situation is more complicated, like if you own a business, have a big family, or want special rules, you might need help from a lawyer or financial expert. They can make sure everything is done right and fits your needs. Of course, getting professional help takes more time and costs more money, but for many people it's worth it for the peace of mind. So, should you set up a trust? The answer depends on your life, your goals, and your family. But here's something to think about. Do you want your kids to deal with legal problems after you're gone? Do you want to protect what you worked so hard for? Do you want to stay in control of who gets what, and when? A trust isn't just for the rich, it's for anyone who wants to pass things on smoothly, avoid court delays, and make sure their loved ones are cared for. Yes, there might be some costs and work involved, but the peace of mind, that's worth a lot, especially if you have kids, property, or simply want to avoid family drama. It's part of generational wealth planning at its best. Talk to an advisor, ask questions, plan ahead. If this video helped you understand trusts better, make sure to like it, subscribe for more simple money tips, and share it with someone who might need this too. Take care.